While tennis is often regarded as a game with a certain level of serenity and calmness, players are still human beings at the end of the day and can be prone to losing their temper from time to time. In this video, we've compiled the top 10 angry tennis player outbursts of all time. Some of these are just downright outrageous. Let's get started. First up, we've got John McEnroe at Wimbledon in 1981. Throughout his career, McEnroe was never afraid of challenging umpires, line judges, or even his opponents when it came to conquering his sport. But on this particular occasion in 1981, he really went to town and lost his cool. During the game, McEnroe hit a serve that he firmly believed was inside the line. Unfortunately, the umpire had a different idea and called the ball out. While it's clear that the ball was inside from the chalk dust flying off the surface of the court, the umpire decided to go with a different call altogether. That was enough to enrage the player, and he uttered the line that went down in history. McEnroe claimed, "You cannot be serious, the ball was on the line." The famous tennis player was furious at the unbelievable call of the umpire. The umpire tried to explain his reasoning, but McEnroe just wouldn't have it. Now, we have Fernando Gonzalez for the Miami Open. At the 2007 Miami Open, Fernando Gonzalez was getting angrier by the minute during his match with opponent Radek Stepanek. It was Gonzalez's serve, and Stepanek was apparently taking a really long time to get ready. This essentially goes against the rules of the game, which clearly state to play to the server's speed. This had been going on throughout the match, and clearly the Chilean player had had enough. Despite complaining to the umpire, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He finally took a shot for the serve and bombed it, and Stepanek barely got his racket to push it over the net. Grabbing the opportunity, Gonzalez smashed the ball directly at Stepanek and hit his backside. A tennis ball flying at you at 120 miles an hour, that must have left a bruise. A nasty move by Fernando, which sent a clear message: you don't mess with him. Next up, Grigor Dimitrov in Istanbul. Grigor Dimitrov is one hell of a player who isn't afraid to show his emotions both on and off the court. Like all emotions, those can be positive or negative. During the final of the Istanbul Open in 2016, the Bulgarian player gave us one of the most incredible finishes we've ever seen in a tennis match against opponent Diego Schwartzman. But instead of celebrating a spectacular win, Dimitrov was disqualified from the game after smashing 3 rackets to bits and pieces out of frustration. Schwartzman and Dimitrov had split the first 2 sets, both winning on tie breaks. But a string of errors soon started catching up with Dimitrov, and with Schwartzman on the brink of victory, the former decided to break his 3rd racket, knowing he'd be disqualified for a rule violation. What a bizarre way to get out of a tournament. Let's take a look at Nick Kyrgios. Nick Kyrgios is known to be outspoken and with quite a bit of temper, but the Cincinnati Open took things to a whole new level. He was up against opponent Karen Khachanov, who's been known to be a reasonable player, well-mannered, and prefers to keep things simple on the court. What a contrast. Kyrgios was seen mouthing off on several occasions throughout the match, often shouting, "This is the worst ref ever." But Nick didn't stop there. He took 2 of his rackets and broke them to smithereens in the changing room to avoid a code violation and a possible disqualification. This is by far one of the pettiest and most immature outbursts we've seen, especially considering that it went on for the entire match. Up next, we have Nick Kyrgios once again. We guess the Aussie player didn't really learn much and was back to foul-mouthing once again at the Rome Masters in 2019. The match was off to a reasonable start, with nothing out of the ordinary happening at first, but Kyrgios soon reverted to his old ways when he saw a bunch of spectators walking and talking while he was serving. Apparently, that's all it took to set the player off. He claimed that the spectators were a serious distraction, and his frustration had him lose out on his ongoing advantage. He was seen shouting, yelling, and screaming profanities at the crowd before smashing his racket and even throwing a chair across the length of the court. There were obviously multiple violations, and Kyrgios defaulted from the match. But by then it was too late, and the clip had already gone viral on social media. Moving on to David Nalbandian in 2012. David Nalbandian was up against the hard-hitting Croatian Marin Cilic in the 22 final at Queen's when he let out his frustration in the most unfortunate manner. The Argentinian player was narrowly leading the scoreboard when he failed to retrieve the ball during a broken serve. In frustration, Nalbandian kicked the wooden plyboard, which was surrounding the line judge Andrew McDougall's chair. To everyone's horror, the hoardings collapsed and landed on the judge's leg, causing him to sustain a nasty-looking gash. McDougall leaped up in shock, pulling up his trouser to expose the bloody, gaping wound. Unfortunately, the judge was treated on the spot and was okay in the end, but for Nalbandian, it only meant instant disqualification. Surprisingly, the crowd was furious and started to chant, "Play on," but the referee had made his decision and was sticking by it. Coming up, it's Novak Djokovic in Shanghai. Even the most experienced of players can ultimately lose their cool as they play under extreme pressure. Novak Djokovic was playing against opponent Jo-Wilfried Tsonga at the Shanghai Masters in 2015 when he lost his temper at an overruling given by the umpire. In the second set, the umpire gave the point to Djokovic's opponent as he didn't attempt to make a play on a ball that was called out late. Djokovic argued that he could have hit the ball back if he wanted to, but the umpire was adamant and claimed that the call came after he would have hit his shot. In the next game, Tsonga hit a backhand backhand that was challenged and ended up being on the line. Djokovic once again could have easily returned the shot, but the point went to Tsonga. Djokovic was infuriated, and this sent him over the edge as he went on a rant that went on throughout the entire change of ends. Let's discuss Serena Williams at the US Open. Serena Williams is a legend on her own and has single-handedly changed the game of women's tennis ever since her debut. During her defeat to Naomi Osaka during the 2018 US Open, Williams showed us a side of her that we've never seen before. In the midst of the match, the chair umpire claimed that she was getting coached from the player's box and proceeded to give her a code violation. Williams was shocked and produced one of the most shocking outbursts ever. The American player claimed she'd never resort to cheating in a match and strongly contested the violation. Umpire Carlos Ramos also gave her a point penalty for smashing a racket. Williams was furious and yelled at the umpire that he needed to apologize. She called him a thief and vowed he'd never be on a court that she was playing on ever again. This incident is regarded as one of the craziest outbursts the world has seen from the great Serena Williams. Next up, we've got Viktor Troicki at Wimbledon. Viktor Troicki was up against Ramos Vinolas at the 2016 Wimbledon Championships when he let out a guttural scream after the umpire overruled a serve that he thought was clearly out. In a move nobody could have seen coming, he picked up the ball and urged the umpire to look at it, trying to indicate that there was no evidence of chalk on it and therefore it must be out of the line. Troicki is well known for his outbursts on the court, and well, this one was definitely his finest. Wrapping up with Novak Djokovic at the French Open. During his loss against Italian player Marco Cecchinato at the French Open in 2018, Djokovic was fuming at the Roland Garros crowd. He urged the Parisian crowd to remain quiet during the points and felt super frustrated with the outcome of the match. The Serbian tennis player was playing a crucial point in the fourth set when a spectator called out just as he was about to strike a shot. That was enough to send him over the edge, and he shot the ball way up into the crowd, screaming and putting a finger to his mouth, pleading with them to stay quiet. Djokovic went on to lose the match and ended the day with one of the most abrupt press conferences we've ever seen. Guess he was having a phenomenally bad day. That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any thoughts about this list of angry tennis player outbursts? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.